Good.
I lost something.
Your neighbor, whatever, he makes his own beer.
I'm really good.
I made my own beer once.
It only takes
I think it was like 25%
a
alcohol.
month, 1 to
That's
a
not-
I
medium.
made my own beer once when I was in
There's some
college.
really crazy
with the chairman of the
beers
music
that
department.
ferment for itself
Yeah.
in several months.
It was
Okay,
so powerful.
we're ready?
It's 25.
I see we're on.
It was actually like
And even though it's naturally a Hindu record, you take that
Cold 45 is
because alcohol, the
10%
good
cost.
the
Yeah.
yeast eats up all the starch and sugars.
Okay, Harvey, you ready to roll?
For Pesach, it's 5%.
Yeah.
Eventually.
We have to sell it?
Go up.
These fancy
Give me a-
wines that people drink.
We have to sell the rolls.
4 cups of that.
Oh, the roll, yes, you sell the roll.
5%. I mean,
Something they do.
Absolutely, sell the roll.
Huh?
Sell it.
No.
Okay. Good morning, good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Today's share with the world going crazy
Yeah, really.
and just the amount of missiles that were fired at Israel over Shabbos in one day was more than I think a week's long attacks during the Iraqi war, and much more dangerous with these drones, attack drones, which are very, very dangerous. And although I see, people send all these clips of how cute it is, how powerful the vaunted Israeli defenses and American Air Force and British Air Force, but
Don't forget it front.
99.9% if they
right,
down,
which is
still meant to
great,
be
which is
0.1%
great.
There's still about 30 people. back
But we can't rely on anybody, as we clearly see from American politics. Only obviously
there.
we have to rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means we need Schusim, we need Rachmanis, and very much so we need Schusim, and whatever we can do to learn these days before Pesach is a big deal, and should be a schus. Our learning should be a schus.
Believe it or not.
Lamaisa, today's share, the genesis of today's share, it's interesting. Past few years, we've given shirim highlighting a Seder by a certain Adam Gadol. And till now, the people that we picked were people contemporary, people who might have passed away not too long ago, people whom you could speak to, people who were by their Seder. Today's share, which is by the Seder, by the Pesach Seder of the Vilna Gaon, there's nobody in this room, there's nobody alive today whose grandparents could have been there. Obviously, we're going back generations, spanning the Groa's Nifter, 1797. Right? Right. And really picking the Gra is a curious point that till now we haven't talked about someone from those ages as a contemporary, type share at a Seder of the Gra. What does it mean to be by a Seder of the Gra? Really, this share was given to me by one of our listeners. One of our listeners may not be here by the share, but somebody who listens quite frequently to the share. Just as an aside, the milo of it being online, I got a call this week from somebody in London. He happened to listen to a share we gave probably a year and a half ago. The topic intrigued him, and he was following up on some of the questions there. And I was like, well, international following.
Rabbi, don't let it go to your head.
Right? It's mostly the London. Right.
Well, it wasn't Palestinians.
It was
Nice Jewish fellow.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But Lamaisa, someone came to me with, I asked, who would you like to hear a share about? Which figure? So he said, what about the Vilna Gaon? So when I first said it, I said, we usually do people more contemporary, not the Gaon. But I thought about it, and I think it is very kedai to do the Vilna Gaon. And I'll give you a few reasons. Firstly, the Vilna Gaon's minhagim are things which are clearly kept today. There are people today, a significant amount of people, that carefully take the minhagi agra and keep them. For example, there even is a Seder Vilna, Seder Hagra, that people daven from. It has the gra. There are yeshivas. The minhagim of those yeshivas are based on the gra. One yeshiva in particular that some people might be familiar with is Yeshiva's Chaim Berlin, where Rav Hutner, the person who really put the yeshiva on the map, he wasn't the founding Rosh Yeshiva, but he was the main influence in the yeshiva, kept minhagi hagra, and the yeshiva follows those. One of the factors of that, the yeshiva that davens Nusa Ashkenaz, topic we always talk about, what's relevant coming up, Pesach, Chol Moed, there the yeshiva is makbid that nobody puts on tefillin in the Beis Medrash on Chol Moed. So if daven there ben azmanim, might be banished to the upstairs women's section to put on tefillin.
That happens here too in this community.
In other places,
Yeah.
okay, but that might be more Nusach Sfard.
Yeah, it's Nusach Sfard. Yeah.
But this is a Nusach Ashkenaz yeshiva, which they adopt minhagi agra. In Eretz Yisrael, there are many minhagim in certain areas, right? Tefillin itself is the perfect example too. They very much keep minhagi agra on that. Zmanim, right? There are many people that will take the later zmanim of the gra on a daily basis for their davening, Kriya Shema. And one of the biggest poskim in the world today, Moshe Sternbach, is actually counts himself as a direct descendant of the gra. Also was always into very much the minhagim of the gra and the like. So the first and foremost, people that keep the minhagi agra is very relevant today. So I think it is, for that alone is a perfect point to do the share. There's one other reason that hit me years ago that I think it's kedai to talk about the gra. Rav Asher Arieli, Shlita, holds an amazing title. Okay, I'm not talking about Daf Yomi. I'm talking about in the world of yeshiva. I think he probably outpaces them too. Rav Asher Arieli has been giving share to hundreds and hundreds, and now it's up to 1,000 people daily. This one man gives share every day in the Mir Yeshiva. Amazing, amazing sight. There's a big room. People sit there. People sit on the stairs. The entire buildings, like everywhere you turn, there are people crammed in to hear a share from Rav Asher Arieli. Amazing, amazing Talmud Chacham. Rebbe in the Mir Yeshiva, Tzaddik. Amazing person. I used to go to a private share of his, getting close to 30 years ago.
Wow.
I was a Bacher in Eretz Yisrael. And Rav Asher, no, the private share was quite amazing. His regular daily share is given in Yiddish in the Mir. Just recently, maybe even this past month, he started also offering a share in Hebrew. He doesn't speak English. But I give 2 shiurim, one in Yiddish, which the Americans go to, and some Israelis. But now he also offers a Hebrew share in the Mir itself. But I used to go to a private share which he gave in Lashon HaKodesh. It was actually quite fascinating. He gave that share privately to a group of Bachrim that really came from Dati Leumi backgrounds. And normally at that age of 18 years old, they'd be off serving in the army. These are boys that dedicated themselves to learning Torah. And they switched from Dati Leumi yeshiva to a more regular yeshiva. And they still looked like, from the other side of the Haredi world. Or Usher specifically gave them a share twice a week, private share.
They still go to the reserves?
I don't know. I don't remember. But Lamaisa, amazing thing. Usher is an amazing person. I was able to be in his house a couple of times. I remember one time I was by his house. A lot of times you go to Adam Gadol's house, they'll have pictures up of other Gedolim. Look at the pictures of Chaim Kanievsky in his sukkah, and look at pictures of his father as a stipler, and maybe Rabbi Yoshev, and other Gedolim through the ages. Chazon Ish. In Rabbi Osher's house, there are no Gedolim pictures on the walls. Nothing. Okay. It takes two, him and his Rebbetzin designed their house, what pictures they have up. But I remember this, there were no Gedolim pictures up on the walls, but there was one picture in a frame on like a curio in his dining room. What was the one picture in a frame in a curio in the dining room? The Vilna Gaon. I never spoke to him about this, but my take on why that was the only picture. He only has one picture in his house of Gedolim, I remember. Maybe he has a family picture with his father-in-law of Nachum, or his grandfather-in-law Chaim Shmulevitz, or his great-grandfather-in-law Blazer Yudel, a lot of chashva people, or his great-great-grandfather-in-law Alder Slobodka. His wife comes from quite amazing stock. But only one picture was of Vilna Gaon. I think the idea was that that's where he put his sights. The Vilna Gaon is from a different era, and he's somebody that we could really all appreciate and look up to. It's 200 years ago, but many people consider the Gra on the level of a Rishon. He was a gift to the generation that he was born in. They say the stories. He was born with obviously an amazing memory, photographic memory. By the age of 10, he mastered Shas. By the age of 20, he was a posek. He wrote his...
What do you say about you?
Huh?
So, Rabbi,
He wrote a whole sefer, Bi'urei Hagra.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Did you receive smicha for a bar mitzvah gift?
It's not a joke.
No, I mean,
But yeah.
probably got smicha.
He's also famously known, he was an expert in math. One of his math theorems is something in the textbooks that they quote. They even say that he wrote some mathematical book, and they questioned when he did it. They said that was his bathroom activities. Now,
Math for dummies.
Lamaisa, the Vilna Gaon is quite amazing, and this share will not do justice to all the different minhagim and halachos that the Gra has when it comes to Pesach. You could easily, and there are many svarim written about the Vilna Gaon. You could probably make a whole sefer just coming to explain all of his different minhagim on Pesach. So today's share, we're going to hopefully scratch the surface, touch upon some of the things that the Gra uniquely has about Pesach, and try to explain some of them, but many of them probably will not reach the depths of understanding. So let's first start Shabbos Haggadah, this Shabbos. This Shabbos, there's a minhag in many, many places to read the Haggadah. Well, quite major minhag, pretty far stretched minhag, far and wide. There are a lot of people that do the Haggadah, parts of the Haggadah on Shabbos Haggadah. But the Vilna Gaon brings down not to. Why not? So those who end up not doing it, you can rely on the Gra. Why did the Gra not read Haggadah on Shabbos Haggadah? So he says, one of the paragraphs, actually we mentioned this the other day, Yachol me Rosh Chodesh, we read in the Haggadah, it says the Havmin, you should start reading the Haggadah even from Rosh Chodesh, do Sipur Yitzis from Rosh Chodesh. But the Pasuk says, Talmud Lomer about Baver Zeh. Baver Zeh will nemar b'shah she's matzo marim v'nachum l'fanecha. He understands, it's pretty beferish there in the Haggadah, that we only do the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzis Mitzrayim only when we have matzah and mar in front of us. Since on Shabbos Haggadah, you don't have the matzah and the mar, so we don't do the Haggadah either. Perhaps others will say we're just doing a part of it, but the Gra's point is, look, the Haggadah is something, and do I do matzah and mar Shabbos Hagadol, so I also shouldn't do reading the Haggadah. That was his position. Fascinating.
Basically saying you can't do so and so until you have so and so. Until you have so.
Yes. Bedikas chametz. This is also a topic we've talked about over the years. Many people have a minhag to go and put out 10 pieces of chametz. Right? We know there are even some people, be careful what I say, that fall prey to good marketing in Jewish stores. And they'll buy a Bedikas chametz kit, but the kit includes 10 pieces of chametz. You know, everyone's trying to sell their chametz, get rid of their chametz. Some smart entrepreneur, Jewish entrepreneur says, why don't I sell people chametz? And he sells it, it's wrapped, but pre-wrapped, 10 pieces of chametz, you can put them around the house. I would buy it potentially if they have what they call the eye tags.
Oh, so that if you lose
In case you lose one.
they can zero in on it.
Right.
Yeah, but
That's the worst thing.
there's also a good
Your house
chance-
is clean for Pesach.
That would be modern technology.
In my family, I don't know if my wife lets them do this. My wife gives out the chametz to the kids. Each one of the kids gets to hide chametz in a cool spot for daddy not to find.
And then they forget where they go.
We write
Yes.
it
Oh, okay.
down. I write it down.
It's okay. If you're buying that,
You're an accountant. I see.
The Gemara talks about what if you found 9 pieces out of the 10.
Yes, that's a big problem. But it happens to be the Vilna Gaon was against putting out 10 pieces.
it's fine if you buy the kit. It's probably from last year in
Yeah.
April anyway.
Yeah.
They didn't sell chametz.
But
Burns better.
yeah, the Vilna Gaon was against people putting out the pieces because the understanding behind the people put out the pieces is, look, if your house is crystal clean, you don't have anything there, so then when you're looking for chametz, you're not going to find. So maybe that's an issue of brachal v'atala. I'm looking for chametz, I'm not going to find chametz, but the Gra, and to be honest, the Gra is not the first to come up with this idea. It's Magen Avram. But it says the bracha is not based on you finding chametz. It's researching for it, and therefore, even if you don't find, it's okay, and therefore you would have a minhag not to put out the 10 pieces.
Didn't Rosh Hashiva also hold that way?
Yes, there are many people that follow the Gra. And Magen Avram.
How we kill that guy's business.
Yeah. But look, I'm not here to help his business.
There are other businesses.
But I'll help the caterers. I put on the sheet 2 very interesting points. I happen to be a Bukhar. I don't know anyone else in the room a Bukhar? Okay. I got one other. Harvey might be. Okay. But Lamaisa, a Bukhar Erev Pesach is a big deal. You really have a chiyuv to fast. And there are some that do it even for their children, below bar mitzvah, sons, or Bukharim, fast for them too.
And sparks of
Yeah,
Qurani.
right. So there's a chiyuv to fast. So the common minhag is you go to a siyam that someone's making, and you go to the siyam, and since you're part of that party, so you get exempted. Post can say that means you really have to be there at the siyam. You can't walk in at the end and there's still food left, good. No, it doesn't work. You have to be a participant in the actual siyam, be there when the person finishes what he's making a siyam on. It's very questionable, just joining at a siyam, is that allowed? Just do it over the phone, online. During COVID, there were some poskim that permitted that. But really, it's not so simple. I remember the same time during COVID that there were people that were listening to siyams over the phone. But most poskim were saying ideally a person should finish something by themselves. Because it's hard to say that you're really participating if you're just doing it over the phone. But what happens though, I'm a little nervous about this myself, but I think this should be covered. I'll just double check. I have to be going away to a desert for Pesach, Be'ez Hashem. And what happens if in the desert no one's making a siyam? So normally I myself am the one who makes the siyum actually over here in yeshiva, but I got a little busy this year, a few things going on, and I wasn't planning. I figured, okay, whatever, someone else make it. I'm going to the desert. Hopefully someone will make it, otherwise I better start learning quick.
I'd be shocked if there wasn't somebody here making this.
Yeah. But the Vilna Gaon has a very interesting 2 eitzahs to help a person who's Bachar and does not have a siyum to go to on Erev Pesach. Now you're going to say, Rabbi, your 2 eitzahs are not perfect. It might be easier to find a siyum. It might be right, but check it out. Look at what it says on the sheets. Minig Pashat Kan Kiyos Kadis Vilna Shebe Erev Pesach Kishayesh Pidyon Aben Afilu Shelo Bizmano Abachorim Ochlin Sham Al Pi Hagra. Testified the minhag in Vilna was if someone was making a pidyon aben, then a bachor doesn't need to go to a siyum. The sudas mitzvah of a pidyon aben would have the same effect and exempt him from fasting for that day.
You're going to rely on those odds?
Huh?
Right, you're going to rely on those odds?
So Harvey says to me, come on, look at the odds, Rabbi. How often do you have a pidyon aben? There are some people that never go to a pidyon aben.
I've never
Right?
They're better odds.
If you're a Kohen and a Levi, okay, if you're Kohen, you could be involved in pidyon aben. But if you're a Levi, your family is exempt from pidyon abens.
They're better odds in Las Vegas for other things.
Okay. So that's one. I started the first one. Second one is a little more common. V'chol shekein she'olchim b'sudas mila av shelo b'zmano. You have a bris, even if that bris was pushed off the Erev Pesach. Avinu ochem al siyum esechta afilu m'sayim atzmam imhu b'chor. Fascinating. Here, the way this is said over is that, yes, certainly a bris would count, but they do write, this is from one of the Haggados of the Gra. It says that the Gra wouldn't accept on the Siyum Masechta, even if you, the Messiah, are the one who's making it. It's a little backwards. We always talk about a Siyum, but really in Halacha, it's actually not so simple. Is a Siyum enough of a Simcha to push off a fasting? So here the Gra, I would say, has a Kula and a Chumrah. He has a Kula, people don't know about it, the bris could also work, even Shelo B'zmano. But here the Gra happens to be against making a Siyum. That's what's reported. So really going to a Siyum is not sufficient, even if you yourself are the one making the Siyum. It's one thing I could hear you say, okay, you're just going to the Siyum, maybe that's not enough. Sounds like the way they're quoting over the Minhag Gra was even if you were the one making the Siyum, that's not enough. So that would mean the Bechor, if he wants to get off the hook, would have to find himself a bris to go to.
Is it possible that
Yes.
even in the days of the Gra, people were kind of faking siyuming to squeeze it so that it fit just exactly at the time?
That could be part of it.
Also just make
I don't
even more common.
here in the Sefer in this Haggadah, it doesn't give an explanation what was the reason behind this, but that could be one.
Because that's what happens nowadays. Like in
Right.
summer
I mean,
camps
they were
during
also-
Av,
Right.
They also were better at learning in pretty much every way back then. You'd probably have more people
Okay.
making legitimate siyum and more
Could
frequently.
be.
We've done away with the concept of fasting on Erev Pesach.
Right.
Nobody does it anymore.
Correct. But you see from here, the Vilna Gaon seems to say that it's not so simple to do away with.
Yeah.
In other words, if the way you do away with it is by going to a Siyum, sounds like he's not a fan. Now, is the Minhag Olam to rely on Siyums? The answer is yes.
I mean, would he also
But
say it's different if you're making a siyum on one
here-
thing versus something else? Like,
It's not clear. I would like to
like
do
if
more
you're making a
research on
siyum
this.
of kol Torah kula,
But the Gra here it comes out. This Minhag Gra is a Chumrah. Right? You don't usually find people that going to a bris and a Pidyon event, but for sure, if you have the choice, I mean, it's an interesting question. The research also: are people against a bris and a Pidyon event? So if you have the choice between the two, bris or siyum, where should I go? The Gra would tell you to go to the bris. but shall others say not?
If you have a choice of a purse or a picture on then it's even.
So I'm not saying that. Yeah, but perhaps in the girls' world. Now, I'm going to start things before I get to the actual Seder. I want to do as many topics, and then I'll do this actual Seder last. But I can't resist doing the Seder plate. Now, the Seder plate, there are different minhagim how to arrange the plate. Now, probably most people use the minhag of the Seder plate they buy. Whatever Seder plate they buy, they're doing that minhag. Now, to be honest, right, there are different minhagim, different things. You know, this is the first example that comes to mind for a moment. Recently, the yeshiva did a nice chesed to a community where they lent out to the community a Sefer Torah. Why do they have to lend out to the community? It's a major community, a major shul. I assume that shul probably has, I assume they probably have 3 Sefer Torah at least in the shul. I'll ask you afterwards. Or Hollywood people. But the yeshiva lent out a Sefer Torah because the Rav came to the yeshiva that his Sefer Torah written Nusach Hari, which is not l'chachila if you're not Hasidic.
You're talking about the Ksav.
Ksav of the Sefer Torah was Nusach Hari.
He came to me first.
Oh. And you didn't give him?
Didn't work out.
Okay. So, Lamaisa, that's a funny story. Lamaisa, the shul came to the yeshiva, and the yeshiva graciously gave him a Sefer Torah. But there's so many things, okay, it's just, people don't look into these aspects, like, you realize what the Ksav is, it's different than Hakim. Nusach Hari is not really accepted outside of Hasidic circles. Similarly, Seder plates. Who's deciding how to arrange a Seder plate? The manufacturer who's having a Seder plate made in China, what will sell the most on? Okay, Hasidim buy more than the Litvak, so they'll make it this way. You know, in the olden days, people themselves would just arrange a Seder plate. Take a plate, put maybe a few dishes around, do it your own way. So there are different minhagim. This is the minhag hagra of how we would do it. You have the maror on the right, charosas on the left, the egg and the zera on the counterclockwise corners. That's the way I ended up doing it. But the fascinating point, he also had his matzahs on the plate, but he only had 2. Very interesting. We all have 3. Why do we have 3? So this is brought in the Shulchan Aruch already. That
You're breaking one and you want 2 complete for your notes.
is that Lamaisa, the Shulchan Aruch says you have 3. The reason behind 3 is to have 1 you break with Yachatz, and your other 2 to have Lach and Mishnah. The Vilna Gaon takes the opinion of the Rif and the Rambam that no, you're supposed to have Lach and Mishnah, true. And you're supposed to have a broken matzah, true. But that's exactly what we're supposed to have, too. The lechem mishnah should consist on Pesach of lechem oni, of broken bread. Bread that's broken. So if you just have your lechem mishnah 2 full matzahs and a side and a broken piece of matzah, so then your lechem oni is not part of the action here. Now you might have broken it there, but no, but that has to be part of your shnayim mikvah, of your lechem mishnah.
You would have broke my.
So the Gra says there's only 2 matzahs. You break the top one, keep the bottom one, put the other half away for afikomen, but that's your lechem mishnah.
No,
For the night of Seder.
no 3 matzahs.
No 3 matzahs. Now look, in the Gra's world, saving you on matzahs too. Order less.
$20 a piece.
Yeah, no joke.
Right to $47 a pound.
You still have to pull one out of the box to do the Hilda sandwich.
What?
Yeah, okay.
It's,
You're going to end up using extra matzah. But,
what a rabbit hole.
okay. So that's your Seder plate. Now, once I started talking about matzah, maybe I'll add to that. The Vilna Gaon has a major shita when it comes to matzah. And, okay, if till now you thought I'm lightening your load of how much matzah to buy, now you see why the Gra, we talked before about the Gra maybe putting, the chametz sellers out of business, but he gives good money to the matzah sellers. The Vilna Gaon holds the following shita. Major shita, it's his.
Yashir.
No, different than that. The Vilna Gaon holds every single piece of matzah that you eat from the night of the Seder until the end of the holiday of Pesach, all 8 days, every single piece of matzah you eat, you're mekayim a mitzvah sederaisa.
Wow.
I'll say that again. According to the Vilna Gaon, every single piece of matzah you eat over Pesach is mekayim a mitzvah sederaisa.
Wow.
That's
What about
super
matzah
major.
pie?
Huh?
What about matzah?
I'm going to get to that in a second. Hold on. According to the Gra, many people hold that's an Avera, but I'll get to that.
He holds by
Takes off.
The Vilna Gaon says all matzah a person eats over Pesach is chiyuv. Now, what's very interesting is they use a halacha that the first night the matzah is a chova, the rest of Pesach is a rishus. The simple way to understand rishus means you don't have to do the mitzvah. If you do it, you get credit, but not that it's a full-flung doraisa chiyuv that you get major schar. No, it's some rishus. The Gra says it's not. You don't read it. Rishus means there's no chiyuv. It just means relative to the first night is an absolute chiyuv regarding the Seder. But there's still another layer of a chiyuv, a full chiyuv, the rest of the yontif. Now, where the Vilna Gaon gets this clearly from, this position, there is tons and tons of literature written on that. For that alone, you could fill a sefer. Basically, from the times right after the Vilna Gaon, Cheshek Shlomo, other great rabbanim in Vilna all try to pilpul and hack about this shita of the Gra. Where does it come from? What's the basis of it? But there's no question about it. That's what the Vilna Gaon held. So every piece of matzah you eat, a lot of people over Pesach, what's there to eat? Most of the time, there's nothing to eat besides matzah. Well, here's the good news. Every piece of matzah you eat is a mitzvah, right? If it's a question, should I do potatoes or matzah? The Gra would tell you, have some matzah.
So he's saying that he's not saying that there's a chiyuv d'oraisa to eat matzah every single day during Pesach. He's saying if you eat it, you're fulfilling a d'oraisa, a mitzvah d'oraisa.
Yeah, I'm.
It's like wearing tzitzis theoretically.
No, I think it's more than that. That's exactly. I was wondering how language is something so delicate, the way people express themselves. So the first half of your statement was parif, but I would not compare it to tzitzis. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, nowadays it's.
In
In other words, if you're wearing a four-cornered garment,
Right. So that's not really a chova. That's more of a classic rishos. We do it to mechayiv
you have that
ourselves.
four-cornered garment on, you're chayiv tzitzis. If you're going to eat matzah, forget the tzitzis analogy. If you're eating he's saying the mitzvah is you must eat matzah every day, or when you eat it, you are fulfilling a mitzvah d'oraisa.
The second way.
Yes.
But
Yeah, because it's 7 days usually. It says that.
Yeah, but it also says on
yeah,
Thursday.
I'll tell you. All right, Berger, you bring up a very good comparison to tzitzis. I actually found is it the Cheshek Shlomo, the Binyan Shlomo, one of the Vilna Dayanim discussed their issue, the comparison to tzitzis, and there they even challenge a different way. If the Gra is correct that every time you eat matzah, it's a mitzvah, why don't I make a bracha on that?
Yeah.
And what do you do by tzitzis? Then you do make a bracha.
You make a bracha.
So how come, according to the Gra, if there's a chiyuv to eat matzah the whole Pesach, so besides the hamotzi you're making, you should make al chilas matzah every time you eat.
Didn't you say you don't make a bracha when we put on the tzitzis katan for putting on the towel?
Excellent. You're right.
The talus gadol.
You're right. 100% right.
Yeah.
Right. That's only because we're wearing a talus. Let's say there'd be a day, for whatever reason, you're not going to put in talus. You can't daven now. You can't daven. But you are going to wear your tzitzis. So a day like that, you would make a bracha on your talus katan. You would. I'll give you an example of that day.
Flying on an airplane.
No.
Soldiers.
No. Okay, yeah, good.
You're sick.
I'm giving you an example. You've gone to Israel, but I don't know if you're going to be a soldier. But on Tisha B'Av, we don't put on our talis till Mincha time. That morning when you wake up and you put on your talis katan, that's the day to make a bracha on it. Al mitzvahs. People forget that sometimes. Get caught up in that day. But back to our matzah.
So on Tisha B'Av,
So the Gra says there's a mitzvah to eat matzah the whole day. Now you ask, what about Knei Delach? What about matzah bride? So here's a good one for you. The Vilna Gaon was pro Gebrux.
my kind of guy.
Now, you find the wrong circles. Wrong, I put that in quotes.
I see it.
They see you eating Gebrux. Not only do they say it's not a mitzvah, they told you it's not Vera.
They call it, it's chometz.
Right. The Gra would say not only is it not an Avera, seemingly you eat something like matzah bride, which is definitely very much matzahdik, right? L'chora, the Gra would say you got a mitzvah matzah, right? Something you'd wash on. See, sometimes you could have something that's made with matzah meal, that's mazonos, but something you would wash on like matzah bride.
You wash on matzah bread.
Okay, that's a whole discussion.
That's
That would be for matzah.
Possible with
Yeah,
Kisnin.
'cause
This
you
is a
put
whole
all kind of stuff in
discussion.
there, Yeah.
Start off being
But I'll tell you,
start off being bread.
the idea about the Gra eating Gebrux is 100% verifiable because the Chaim Volozhin writes about it. Now, what's fascinating about the Gra was somebody that people were tremendously machshav in his times. And after he passed away, there's a sefer called Ma'aser Rav. It's been reprinted in multiple different editions and stuff. Ma'aser Rav really has the Talmidim of the Gra expressing what they saw the Gra do. So they very much were looking to see the Gra's actions in halacha. So Chaim Volozhin himself went on Pesach to check out, does the Gra eat Gebrux? And the answer was yes. He said there's no problem. He spoke to him about it. Okay. Next.
I just before
Yes.
we go on, the issue.
Wait, getting late.
I don't think I don't remember hearing that there was a conclusion to the issue of if the Gra Hell holds that eating matzah anytime you eat matzah it's a mitzvah midoraisa. Why would you not say
Yeah.
matzah?
Again, I'm not. There. You could write an entire sefer just on understanding the Gra's minhagim on Pesach, and that's one of the biggest questions. There's just tons of ink on just on that. So I'm not coming to explain that. But that it's given. It's a mitzvah. It's given you to make a bracha. Now,
It's beyond the scope of this lecture.
I want to quickly get to the Seder, but there's one more point I'll get to because it really goes beyond the Seder. Such a fascinating thing. We all know there's a minhag not to eat matzah before Pesach. And for sure, there's an absolute Isser in Erev Pesach, but there's minhagim before Pesach, whether it's from Rosh Chodesh, before, right. The Gra was into those minhagim, yes. He also wouldn't eat matzah before Pesach. But listen to this one. I don't know of anyone who keeps this. The Vilna Gaon was makbid not to eat matzah after Pesach. He had the minhagim both ways. Not to eat before, and not to eat after. To separate, because since matzah is so chashiv, the Vilna Gaon went out of his way to make this line of demarcation. Before Pesach, I'm not eating it. After Pesach, I'm not eating it. I'm just eating it the entire Pesach because this is the mitzvah, and I got a mitzvah on every bite. Not only that, the Gra went out of his way to have a Ni'ilas Chag. He would have Shalosh Shudas on the last day of Yom Tov. He would wash for a third Suda, night, day, and evening. He would wash and have matzah to be Mekayim, the last licks of matzah.
So he wouldn't have.
That's the same
Yes.
as little tahini you say going out of the sukkah.
Yes.
You didn't cook.
Now,
You didn't
I
cook.
only have a few minutes left. I want to quickly run through the Seder with the Gra. And you see, it could spend easily multiple shirim going through the Gra. He spent the whole share. We didn't even touch the Seder. We got around it. Let me just quickly go through the Seder. One of the first things that comes out different between the Gra and all other people, again, most people obviously don't do this, is by karpas. We all know we wash our hands before we dip. And we wash without a bracha. Sometimes you have people that just by nature go and they make a bracha. They say, oh no, I made a bracha. Don't say that. The Vilna Gaon held the halacha, you should make a bracha. So if a person happens to make a bracha, you should, okay, if that's not your minhag, don't do it. But there's Yeshal Mi Lismok, that's the Gra, it's not a regular bracha latala.
It's the bracha on the wash.
What point can he talk?
So you could talk after you dip. Yeah. Now, if you need something, you could always talk for that. The Vilna Gaon, very interestingly, writes this allusion, right? In general, the comparison, the one should not eat mouse in Erev Pesach, that it compares it to someone who's with his wife before he gets married. Similarly, the Gra goes the other way, that, very interesting. He says, after 7 brachas you make on the night of Pesach, then you unveil the kala. Unveiling the kala means uncover the matzahs.
So you keep
That's-
it covered up until that point.
Until that point, but once you reach that point, and the Gra counts as 7 brachas. Now he has a different count than we would, because he makes an Alatiyas Sedayim by Karpas. But basically, his idea is by the time you get for sure to Achilas Matzah, maybe even before, you uncover the matzahs, because after Shava brachas, what do? You uncover the veil of the kala. Very interesting allusion between matzah and the kala.
If it's not say Shabbos, it screws up the count.
Okay, right? It could, perhaps. Halal, very interesting. A lot of people, one of the cheshbonos for running a Seder is you want to eat afikomen before chatzos. People know about that. But really, there's another kpeda Shulchan Aruch talks about, is drinking the 4 cups, saying halal before chatzos. So if you really want to do that, you really have to speed through. I know people that this is the best excuse to do it quick. Seder is I have to get through halal 4 cups before chatzos. However, the Gra has a fascinating idea they bring here on the bottom of the page, that doesn't talk about afikomen. Could be he was makban afikomen before chatzos, but it talks about the last 2 kosos, he would not be makbid to do those before chatzos. Why? So he says a very interesting reason. The first 2, he says there's a difference between the first 2 cups and the last 2 cups. The first 2 cups are about our Geula from Mitzrayim. He understands that the last 2 cups are from our future Geula. Here of Yemei. So Memela, the Gra's understanding is, okay, you have to get that in before Chatzos, because that's a time span that we're doing these mitzvahs, Zecher L'tzias Mitzrayim. But since the last 2 kosas the Gra understands are for the Gula Hasida, so there's no time constraints on that. That could be even after Chatzot. And therefore the Gra wasn't makbid for those to do afterwards. It's amazing.
Hey, there were times.
Huh?
About afikomen.
So afikomen, it's not, in this particular piece I didn't find. I could perhaps find another spot. Unless otherwise known, I assume it was makbid, but I don't know. I don't know. But this time machine, as you put it, going back and understanding the Vilna Gaon, I think is something which is so fascinating. You know, it's always said over, the minhagim of families are obviously very unique. But probably the one night a year that has been hugging, shine, and come out so distinct is the night of the Seder. And so obviously a special time. You have family together, you have those portraits, right? Family together by a Seder. And the more a person gives over minhagim, okay, this is the way we do it, I've heard about other people doing it this way, it just adds so much flavor and color to Baruch Hashem, our wonderful, beautiful Jewish religion. We feel proud, and really the night of the Seder is a night of tremendous pride. And look, when the world attacks us, all the more so we need a Seder, we need to sit together and feel what it means to be the Am Nivchar, and a little chizuk inside the little confines of your house go do a lot with the walls caving in around us, but we appreciate where we come from. And V'hisha Amda L'Avoseinu V'lanu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu stood by us throughout all the ages of B'chol Dor V'dor, Omdim Aleinu L'Chalseinu. Some years you have to say, oh yeah, there are these plots we don't know about. It's right there in the front, right? We never had Iran bomb the Jews of Israel before. And Be'ezras Hashem, we should be zocha to the Gula, Shlema, B'mheira V'yameinu.
Amen.
Chag Kosher V'Sameach. Be'ezras Hashem.